I grew up in a family that wasn't really religious. Kind of their religion or our religion growing up was kind of the party scene. There was always family parties in the shop. We were very family oriented though. We'd go camping all the time and do family stuff, but it was all based around drinking and partying. That's just kind of how my family was. You know, being raised like that kind of turned me into a little bit more of a hardcore drinker than a lot of my family, and well, for one, got caught in junior high school. I was in 7th grade, got caught drinking at school because I couldn't not drink, and drinking like that kind of got me into the wrong crowd. It got to the point where drinking wasn't enough for me, and so someone introduced me to prescription painkillers and then other numerous kind of drugs, anything you could really think of. When I graduated high school is when it got really, really bad. About a year after graduation, I ended up homeless. I was a thief. Pretty rough lifestyle, pretty lonely, very desperate, very sad. Contemplated suicide, and it was a pretty hard life to live. I wanted something different, but I didn't know what that was. Started going in and out of jail. I got in trouble one time and actually picked up an actual charge, and then got put on probation, and it was like I was in and out of jail after that because I'd run from probation and then get picked up, or I'd fail drug tests and get picked up. And I can remember early December of 2015 I got arrested, had to turn myself in, and I was terrified because I thought I was going to prison. So I was very scared, and my family didn't want anything to do with me. None of my friends wanted anything to do with me. I didn't have anybody. The only thing I could think of doing is hitting my knees. And I'd always heard about how Jesus could save someone, and I always thought that the things that I did in my past were unforgivable, that there was no way that I would ever be forgiven. And I can remember distinctly in a jail cell hitting my knees. I just said, if you're up there, please show me a new way and just make me a better person. Whatever happens, I just want to be a better person and have a better life. And I can remember the feeling that came over me was just like a sense of ease, a sense of comfort. Everything that was built up inside of me just felt like it fell off of me, and it was just like I'm just comfortable. While I was in jail at that time, I started praying. Some guys in there knew the Bible a little bit, so they started kind of taking me through the Bible and showing me what to read, and I just slowly started kind of getting into that, and every time I'd read the Bible in there, I'd just feel better. Every time we'd pray, I'd feel better. And I went to that court date when I thought I was going to prison, and I can remember the judge, he was just like, we're going to give you one last chance, and I didn't think that was ever possible. And from right there, I knew God was real. So when I got out of jail, I was gonna go to a church, but something happened, and I ended up wanting to go to a little bit of a later service, and I found out River City had 11 o'clock service. So I decided to come here instead, and I walked in the doors and immediately felt welcomed and like I was appreciated. That very first day at church, I can remember when I felt my hands, they actually raised up, and it's like I couldn't control them. And that day when I left church, all day long, I was calling my mom and dad, telling them how good I felt, and it was just such an amazing feeling. And since then, God has worked in my life like I couldn't imagine. I've completely changed, and I've made mistakes since that day, don't get me wrong. I've definitely made mistakes, but the difference is that I can feel God there with me nowadays, and he has got me a house to live in, which I never had. I pay my bills these days, and I never used to pay my bills. I've got more friends than I could dream of nowadays. My family absolutely loves me there, and he's just made me a better person all around. I look at life on how I can help the next person instead of how I can take from them or hurt them. Once a year, I get to go up to Sacagawea Junior High School and talk to the 8th graders about my story and how my story led me down the wrong path. And if he can do something like this in my life and completely make me into a person I could never dream of being, then he could do it to anybody.